everyone, Teri Wellbrock here. Have some exciting announcements before we start the show, which is an amazing interview. Oh my gosh, one of my favorites so far. Such a great conversation. But for my exciting announcements. So I was invited onto another podcast recently, and in the invitation that had been sent to me, this person had listed that they were in the top 3% of podcasts on Listen Notes. So I thought, ooh, I'm going to pop over there and see where the Healing Place podcast ranks. And so Listen Notes has what they call a global ranking. And it said on there, when I pulled up the Healing Place podcast, this podcast is one of the top 2.5% most popular shows out of 2,820,473 podcasts globally, ranked by Listen Score. So I was so thrilled, I can't even stand it. So this show, thanks to you, amazing people who are listening and sharing and inviting others, is now in the 2.5% top out of 2.8 million shows globally. Wow. I can't even wrap my head around it. It's so amazing. And I love it so much. And again, I'm so grateful to you. The other thing is every Wednesday I have a call with Mary Giuliani, who has been a podcast guest on the show twice, to share her beautiful insights. And she and I are both working on our books. And so we've been helping each other through. Well, she's also a coach. And so she's going to coach me on coaching. And so I'm going to be, over the next few episodes, offering a coupon code for all of you, and opening up to a very small select group. We're going to do a specialized coaching on trauma recovery. And it's not going to be a big, huge opening. So it'll be limited to, I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 8 clients. So if you're interested, be sure to keep checking out future episodes for that coupon code so you can be one. I'll do a wait list or a sign up list too, if for those who don't make it in on the first round. We're also going to work on doing a group coaching, because group coaching is so amazing, because it helps folks resonate with one another and support one another. And so you don't just have the one-on-one, but you have the support of others who are going through a similar journey as well, and can offer feedback to each other. So anyway, just some upcoming exciting things going on in the world of Teri Wellbrock and the Healing Place podcast. So all right, now for the show. Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. And I have a big smile on my face because I'm very excited to introduce you to Pauline Nguyen. And we just had such a great conversation. We should have been recording it beforehand. So it was so beautiful and wonderful. She is spiritual entrepreneur, award-winning author of 2 books, developmental coach, inspirational speaker, and co-founder of the world's most awarded Vietnamese restaurant, Red Lantern. So welcome, Pauline.
Hello, Teri. Thank you so much for having me. I just had a quick flashback of our conversation. What did we cover? Holographic kinetics.
Oh, yeah, holographic kinetics and our healing journeys.
Multiple past lives, closing wormholes.
All kinds of fun, just, little topics to cover.
And then she remembered to press record.
Yes, right. Said, oh, we got to start over.
Bless you.
Well, so yeah, the spiritual entrepreneur part, I'm fascinated by it when I read it and read your bio and was on your website. And so talk to us a little bit about that and what that role is.
First of all, I have to make it clear that the spirituality that I practice and the spirituality that I teach is not about tarot cards, crystal balls, palm reading, all of that stuff. A lot of people do much, much better than I do. It's also, I can very comfortably say this on your podcast, Teri, that it's not about religion either. It has nothing to do with religion. I do firmly believe that it is religion that needs spirituality. Spirituality does not need religion. The spirituality that I practice and teach is not about peace, love, and light and mung beans either. It's about power and not force. Power being to embrace all of ourselves, the light, the dark, our authenticity. It's about living our truth, snatching our power back, becoming the grandest versions of the greatest visions of ourselves. And therefore, when we live our truth, it takes no effort. So to reiterate the spirituality that I teach is being able to live life with ease, with inspiration, in spirit inspired, so that we all suffer less. So that we all suffer less. And so to match that with what we know as entrepreneurship, which is known as this kind of hard knocks, work the hardest, be the first to arrive at work, the last to leave at work, the last to leave work, and we have very little rest, we run on stress, all of that stuff that is known as entrepreneurship. If you're not working hard, you're not worthy of the title. That's all in the past. That stuff is going to make you sick, to be diseased and diseased, and for it to be about the money. So to now merge spirituality with entrepreneurship, it's a very different way of doing business. It's a very different way of creating a life for ourselves. And so to understand, if we are here on this earth to do three things, which is to evolve, to push humanity forward, and to do it with joy. It's the third part that a lot of people forget. And so that's what spiritual entrepreneurship is very much about, how we can use our resources as entrepreneurs, because we are the warriors of the world, right? We find solutions to everything. We can't help it. We can't help but find solutions to world problems. But then to understand that we are here to evolve, to push humanity forward, and to do it with joy, living our lives in spirit and inspired to do our best work. That is, in a nutshell, what spiritual entrepreneurship is all about. Doing things very differently, and understanding now that there are reasons for doing things and thinking things very differently.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Sign me up, because one, I just feel so called to do the first two things. But then people tell me all the time, "Oh my gosh, Teri, you radiate joy and you're always so
How
happy."
dare you?
And I'm just like, so when you said that, I was like, yes, all right, I'm doing it.
Because that's what to be spirited is, right? To have this lightness of being. And when you have that lightness of being, you are vibrant, you are vibrating higher, you have a higher frequency. And when that happens, we're just going to draw more people into our orbit. But the law of magnetism, we magnetize the players who are going to help us get to where we want to go faster. And you're only magnetic is if you're vibrating high, because people want to hang around you because you're experiencing joy. You're going to have a whole lot of fun. And when we have a whole lot of people who are skilled, professional, know their shit, know what they're doing, but want to do it with joy, my God, we can create magic. We can create
Oh,
magic.
yes. And I've said that during this pandemic, to folks, in that people are just like, oh, it's just so much. It's such a burden. There's so much heaviness. And I am finding that there are more people awakening, more people like moving towards a different approach to life. And I have hope coming out of it, in that I think people are awakening and transitioning in their
Yeah.
thinking.
The collective consciousness has called for it.
Yeah.
Has called for not my truth, not your truth, but for the truth to come forward. And the truth is that we are more powerful, we are more resilient than what we have been told to be. And so those who think it's so heavy, it's so that again, perhaps it's their soul age. Perhaps it is the people they hang around. Perhaps they are fighting to hold on to their problems. We mentioned earlier, before you want to heal, it's the Hippocratic oath, right? It's part of that. Is make sure you that you don't want to be holding on to the things that are already making you sick. Some people find this great sense of certainty and significance to be saying, woe is me, here are my problems. But that's why they age. That's why they're tired, because they are living a lie. The
Right.
collective consciousness is calling for a truth, the truth of self. That takes no effort.
Yes. Well, you brought up one of my favorite words, which comes up often on this show, which is resilience. And yeah, I know your personal story is one of resilience and overcoming. And and do you think or believe or find that those who have trauma history or those who have been through difficulties um, tend to be drawn more towards wanting to evolve and wanting to move up and do this kind of work?
Terry, the answer to that question is an absolute yes. The operative words being those who want to move to this type of work. The ones who want to move to this type of work have already made the decision. It all starts with a decision. Never underestimate the power of a decision. The decision to say, I want to be better. I don't want to suffer like this anymore.
Right.
And so for those who want to um, hold on to and fight for their problems, they're the ones when you say, well, you're going to have to walk down a long hall of mirrors. Are you willing to do that? Yeah, nah, I don't think, and it's that, and so the decision has to be theirs first. Otherwise, us as the facilitators of their healing, we don't really get their permission, right? We have to have permission first. Permission is the first thing that comes after that they've made that decision. Um, or sometimes we would say, well, in order to heal, you're going to have to look at your triggers. Are you willing to do that? What are you willing to do to feel the way you want to feel? And some people like to learn it cognitively, but not actually follow through. The success of anything, whether it be business, whether it be life, whether it be healing, is consistency and follow through. Consistency and follow through. Consistency and follow through. I like to call it Goya, get off your ass. You have to get off your ass and do the work. And I think this is where radical personal responsibility must come online. And so are you willing to let go of the things that have made you sick? Because you're going to have to take radical responsibility, because there's no point in going to see a therapist or a healer or a developmental coach for however long if you're not actually going to put in the work and get off your ass and actually consistently do the work and follow through.
Right. Well, that's the way brain plasticity, that's the way we rewire things when we start to change those habitual patterns, when we start to, yeah, do the work that needs to be done in order to change the way things have been going, which isn't working.
And I think when people think that doing the work is going to that therapist session or logging on to that course session or going to that group, the work also means that I take that work as being the semantic work, the acquiring of knowledge. You actually have to go out and do the somatic work. You actually have to go out and do the movement work, do the breath work. That takes discipline, and discipline isn't regimented. Discipline means simply you are a disciple, a consistent disciple, a student of life. Are you prepared to be a student of life? Because you're going to have to go and move your body every day. Are you willing to do that, or do you think just going to the sessions is doing the work? And so
Yes.
with the work that I do, we combine the semantic, yes, the behavioral, the talk therapy, but talk therapy alone takes too long, right? You have to combine it with the somatic work, the breath work, the body work, meditation work, the rest work. Rest is a weapon. We certainly don't rest enough, and I combine it also with the somatic work, the shamanic work, the work with spirit, the soul work. So to combine the semantic, the somatic, and the somatic, man, we combine all those modalities in multiple dimensions and we get results very, very quickly.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I love it. And as you were talking, I was thinking of just, I'm in EMDR therapy, and I had gone back going through this
Yeah.
health crisis, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make sure the mental health, I'm taking care of that. And one of the things we tapped on Tuesday had to do with a fear of open spaces that's still lingering. And so it went back to a soccer game when I was 9 years old, and somebody making my parents making fun of the way I ran. And anyway,
Mm.
when we were done, I said, let's go to the beach, because I so wanted to test the theory. I so wanted to be out there and stand there. And I did. And take those calming breaths and feel the earth beneath me and do it, and wow, was that empowering to then be able to like connect it.
Yes. And then also the ocean, we are 75% water, and to go out there and experience that, the joy, experiencing awe and wonder, and having salt water on your skin, and that sense of expansiveness is less scary than whatever it is that you experience on the soccer field. So good choice, good choice
Right.
of
Right.
of expansiveness.
Thanks. Oh my God, there's so much I want to talk to you about. We could probably sit here for hours on end. Um, so your role as a developmental coach, is that along the lines then of the being of the spiritual entrepreneur work?
Uh, yes, I play multiple roles. I spend a lot of my time traveling. Now that the borders are open, I travel more and more as an international speaker. I speak as a professional speaker, so I'm engaged by corporations and entrepreneurs to go in and, I guess, what they call duck slaps, duck slaps for their people, because sometimes it is more effective when a third party can do it skillfully.
Right.
I also coach and teach numerous groups online all around the world, and that is on developmental stages. The stage. I'm not a therapist. I assist them to get to the next stage of their development. From if we were talking about pre-conventional, conventional, post-conventional, spiritual development, integral development, and so it combines. I combine a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of modalities to cater for that specific group. But in a nutshell, it is also to combine the semantic, or all the theory work, and then we absolutely do a whole lot of somatic work, and then I finish off with the shamanic activations, the somatic work, to activate the dormant DNA, activate the messages that is waiting to be decoded within them.
Yeah. So for listeners who might don't understand, can you explain just a little bit, what is somatic work? What do you mean by that?
Of the body.
Of the body.
Anything to do with of the body, and so we're not. I take when we do the semantic work, the theory work, go through behavior therapy, human behavior theory. That is understanding the philosophy behind it, doing the talk therapy, working on the mindset. But to do the somatic work, let's talk also about your heart set. Let's talk about how much you can forgive. How easily do you love? How kind would you decide to be? All right, let's now go and open your heart space, your heart chakra, the most powerful energetic center in your body, energy center in your body. Hey, but then let's not forget about the health set either. What are you doing to move your body? Because movement is such beautiful, beautiful work, especially. And I'm not talking about going to the gym and killing yourself, right? I'm talking about waking up and watching the sunrise every day, the most potent healing time of the day. Activating your pineal gland on the inside out, boosting your mitochondria, and again, experiencing awe and wonder. And then the morning sun, that this is body work, having the morning sun on your skin to build up your solar callus for the winter months. And then let's then jump into the ocean. After we've done the semantic work, we're going to now jump in the ocean. Salt water, nature's greatest Faraday cage. And are you walking barefoot all the time? Are you walking with your toes in the dirt and in the grass to ground yourself and neutralize yourself? If we're sitting in front of the computer day in and day out and looking at our phones, we're going to be charged with a whole lot of harmful EMFs. What are you doing to neutralize all that? Do you know that you can hug a tree? Go hug a
Yes.
tree. Ask
Yes.
Mother Earth to neutralize it for you instantly. All that agitation because you've been sitting in front of harmful EMFs for so long, that instantly gets neutralized. And also, are you chest breathing where your stress receptors are? Can you change that now to get super super still and access your calm receptors, which is in your diaphragm? So this is all the somatic work that I'm talking about. This is now getting really into your body. Let's get into your body, because if you stay in your head, you're dead, right? Come on. We're here also as souls having this human experience. Do you love your body? Like really, really love your body. And then we do the soulmatic work to I go into shamanic mode and assist on multiple dimensions in that way. So I hope that explains the somatic
Yes.
part that you were asking about.
Yes, so much so wonderful. And I just have to say, as you were speaking, I was taking a walk with my family, and I'm just so blessed to have a family who loves me for the way I am, because I truly, like, I was walking along and I looked over and I was like, oh my gosh, that tree. And I had to go
Yeah.
over and just like touch the tree and just feel its essence. But it was a very, very old tree. And so I read a little plaque that was near it, and it had been around since the early 1800s. And so I felt so
Yeah.
drawn to this tree, and it's just the energy of it. And so I had to go
Yeah.
just put my hand on it and feel it. I didn't
Is,
hug
is
it,
it
but
is it
I,
a is it a tree that you no, the hands are great because you and but just remember when we do, especially the skin on our palms is so thin, right? When we access the sun and the solar callus, just open our palms so that it does go into our hands, and a morning sun into our eyes, right? You don't want to look at it when it hurts. That's for
right.
stupid. And but definitely have your hands as much as your skin as possible hugging the tree. But is it a tree, may I ask, Terry, is it a tree that you see often?
No, it's on a property. It's Coastal Discovery Museum, and it's a beautiful area to walk. And so I was walking through the gardens because all of the flowers, and I can't think of their name, I'm drawing a blank right now, but they were all blossoming, blooming. And so it
Lovely.
was just like a rainbow of beautiful colors. And we walked further down the trail, and I just happened to look over and see. And I love these live oaks because they're just, they grow so big and beautiful. And
Majestic.
this one just called my name, and I had to go over and say hi.
Yeah. So part of when I do my retreats, part of what I teach also is how to communicate with nature. In particular, trees, they have so much wisdom and so much knowledge if you're willing to listen. And so nature itself, we are nature, right? We don't go out into nature. We are nature. We are a part of nature, and that whole sense of going back and remembering who we are, not only remembering but also to reattach the member, to remember, to connect, really connect with Mother Earth again, and Father Sun. Mother Earth and Father Sun have looked after us for eons, right? We are wirelessly connected to the sun and hardwired to the earth. You're not going to want to cut yourself off, dismember yourself from that. But one of the modalities that I teach is how to access nature's medicine and how to communicate with nature. And so, if you wanted to create a relationship with that particular tree, there's a way to communicate with it. There's a way to listen to for the signs. There's a way to ask permission. Every tree has a personality, right? And I've received multiple downloads from the trees, multiple communications. The trees given me chapters for my book. Other trees have given me content for my keynotes. But are you at the same frequency? Do you have the same stillness to be able to listen? And that is the practice, right? To get into that same frequency, just like we're tuning into a particular a radio station or television station. If you can tune in to the language, and more often than not, it's the getting conversant with the language of intuition. Some people say, I need to see it to believe it. It's like, yeah, but if you believed it, my God, the things that you can see.
Yes. Oh, I love it so much. Yes. And again, to go back to what you just said, as I was standing there and I had taken my hand off and I was just in awe looking up at the branches, I even took a picture from underneath it. And um, I said, can you just imagine what this tree has witnessed? It's been around since the 1800s, what it has absorbed, what it has has been a part of. And I just could feel it. It was, I don't want to say whatever it was, I could just feel it like telling me like just the sense of yes, like I there were no words. I mean, it wasn't words, but it was just this essence
Yeah.
of yes, and I just felt it, and it was beautiful.
But that's what the shamanism is about, right? Accessing nature's medicine. We all have a shaman inside of us. If we resonate and can respond to tone and sound, and just because it doesn't have the words, as you say, or the song or the lyrics as this 3D language understands, it does not mean it is not song. It does not mean it is not communication or conversation. When we go into quantum or when we go into that deep sense of being activated and going into the other dimension, it's the language comes through us through sacred geometry, sacred geometry, particular visions, some sounds that we might hear, the feelings that we might feel. And so, in the Aboriginal culture, Australian Aboriginal culture, a lot of the time, the trackers, they were able to find missing children or particular animals because they were talking to the trees and talking to the animals. And we are all spirit, we are all sentient beings. It is just that my spirit resides in this vehicle, the tree's spirit resides in the tree's vehicle, the wolf's spirit resides in the wolf's vehicle. And so we are all spirit. We can communicate if we, as long as we're at the right frequency to receive the messages. We are simply in a different vehicle that perhaps happens to speak a particular language.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I just I'm a fan and I love it and it's speaking to my heart and soul. I wrote an article, one of my articles in my newsletter this month mentioned about quantum that we're our energy, that we're made of 99.9999 however many nines% energy, because when you go in and keep going in and in and in, there's we're made of subatomic particles that are just swirling and it's just constant movement. And so we are energy. Yes, we feel solid, but we're energy. And so I'm so fascinated and enamored. I'm not educated enough to speak on it fluently, but you just add to it and it just makes me smile. So thank
It's
you.
fascinating, right? And so this is why I have my latest book is called The Way of the Spiritual Entrepreneur, The Seven Secrets to Becoming Fearless, Stress-Free, and Unshakable in Business and in Life. And in the year of its release, it won Best Entrepreneurship and Small Business Book Award. And this is where the collective consciousness is going. The spiritual entrepreneurs are talking about this stuff, right? Which is why we have the unfair advantage and the competitive edge in business and in life. When we can start talking about our energetics, when we can start saying, hey, you know that issue that you've got, your fear of heights, your fear of spaces, or that anger issue, or all these shadows that you're unwilling to face, could the potential be that you've carried them from past lifetimes? And it's not just in this lifetime, and it depends where they're at developmentally, whether they say this is a load of crock, okay, sure, carry on, carry on. But there's a whole other world if you are willing and able to be open to the possibility. That's all it is. If you're open to the possibility, no one here is going to shove anything down your throat.
Right. Well, and again, I keep coming back to, I think more and more people, it used to be, alternative ways of thinking, and there were those labels thrown on it. And now I think more and more and more people are starting to understand
Yeah.
that there's just so much more than what we thought was there.
Yes, and if we've been paying attention, a lot of attention, the collective consciousness is getting stronger and stronger in this regard. And with any new belief system, or whether it be you know the revolution of the 60s, the 70s, every revolution only needs a 10% of the population for it to become part of the tipping point, and then it just becomes mainstream. And so this wacky stuff that we're talking about, Terry, they say is about 7%. So it's almost at tipping point where everyone's going to go, okay, I think there's something here,
Yeah.
because we don't want to suffer anymore. I think
Right.
all this stuff that these new age people have been talking about for the couple of decades so far. I think that there's something here, and it's only that we are opening the doors to possibility. Nothing works if you're pushing something down someone's throat and they're not ready to hear it. Hey, but you
Right.
can open the door to possibility and invite them to walk through, should they wish.
Yeah. And I totally get it. And one of the things, and I don't know if you said this before we hit record or after, but the whole like it's a spiritual way of thinking and being, but that's not religious. Like I grew up very Catholic, and my faith is still an important part of me. And so I talk to God and Jesus and Mary and all of that. And but this part of it is also a very important part of it to me, and it's not that they're not separate, they're not the same, they're not it's just another part of it for me.
Yeah, it is talking to your spirit.
Yeah.
Your spirit, Terry's spirit, whatever that is, and that is what the spirituality that I'm talking about is all about. Is that what do you need to do to feel the way you want to feel, so that you can live your life inspired and in spirit to do your best work? Because if you're not inspired and if you're not in spirit, your vibration is going to be low. The terrain in which you operate has more potential to be diseased and diseased. And so, what are you going to do to feel the way you want to feel? Let's start with that decision and then give permission to those who can come in and assist. But then you got
Right.
to Goya.
Right. Right. But you bring up another valid point, the whole diseased part. So I had this health crisis because I've been doing great, super healthy, working out, eating great, my physical, no medications. I mean, for 55, I was like, woohoo. And then boom, I hit this wall. And then at first I was like, oh no, what am I doing wrong? Like I took personal, I shouldered like it was something I had done. And then but then I kind of took a step back and looked at it from spirit point of view, which we talked about, of okay, there's lessons to be learned in this. There's something that I need to it's I'm looking at it more of how can I elevate from this. And so um dis-ease and disease isn't always necessarily about being at a lower frequency, that sometimes it comes along to teach us a lesson or help us shift, right?
Yeah, it's all about the reframe. So absolutely, exactly what you said, because you're not dealing with it or afraid to look at it by being in victimhood. That's the part that puts you in low vibration.
Okay.
If you're coming from guilt, if you're coming from fear, if you're coming from shame, those are the states of, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is, should you decide to stay in that at that frequency for however long. Whereas if you did what you did, which is, what are the lessons? Okay, going to sit in my stillness space to look at all that. Okay, now what do I need to do? That's the Goya part. What do I need to do now to get out of this? And that's when we change the terrain, because those who sit in victimhood, the terrain that have created, that's what's going to make them sick or not. And so
Okay.
the terrain is the landscape of the body and the feelings and the emotions of your soul, and well, also known as epigenetics. And that when you were asking before about my past, it was not a very pleasant past at all. But I get to choose to look back and say that was my training. That was my training. Uh, Can you imagine if we lived in a world of beneficiaries? Geez, can you imagine if we lived in a world of beneficiaries and not a world of victimhood? And so that thought alone, that decision alone, and giving others permission to come in and assist, and that's when we can focus on healing the terrain, so that we are not living in an environment that is dis-ease and ultimately leads to disease.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for clarifying that, because at first I was living in fear. My gut reaction, obviously, because this was all new and scary and I didn't know what was happening. But then I was able to take that step back. So it's okay to be in that moment of, right.
That's natural. The rejection of that versus the integration of that,
Okay.
that also is going to make us sick, right? Rather than going, okay, I'm not in a very good position right now. I'm going to sit in this to really listen out for what are the lessons here? What do I need to do? Okay, now what do I need to do to first feel the way I want to feel? Because most people allow their emotions to fuel their behaviors. And so their behaviors result in whatever consequence that is unfolding into their 3D space. But the masters, the ones who really get it, will actually decide on what behaviors are going to fuel the emotions. It works the other way around. And so that consistent question, what am I going to do to feel the way I want to feel? I need to change my behaviors so that my emotions change. Now that I've sat in it for a bit, understood what it's all about, but now what am I going to do about it?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and just to add to that, so after I went out to the beach and we had learned that it was my parents making fun of me playing soccer, I signed up for a 5K that day. I said, I'm going to run. I'm going to run. And I don't care how silly I look. I'm going to run, arms flailing. I don't care. But yeah,
Excellent.
changing
And how did you
behaviors.
feel? How did you feel?
I was so excited. Like, I'm so excited about running this 5K. So yeah.
Yay! What do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? Run
Right.
naked 5K.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
So good.
Awesome. Well, you talked about the one book, and you have another book as well, correct?
Yes, the book, The Way of the Spiritual Entrepreneur, is my latest book. The first book I wrote is called Secrets of the Red Lantern, a very dark and personal memoir which I disguised as a cookbook so people would buy it. It worked a treat. I won Debut Writer of the Year and it became an international bestseller. That was some time ago. That was released in 2007, and that book alone really changed the trajectory of my life. A lot of catharsis, a lot of healing came from that book, and I think, not I think, I know that no one was more surprised. Perhaps surprise is not the right word. More like shook, as my son would say it. Mum, I'm shook. The word is shocked more so than surprised. That I won Debut Writer of the Year, and really affecting and impacting a whole lot of people around the world, from victims of PTSD, childhood violence and abuse, from children to wives. Um, a lot of Vietnam vets wrote in to share with me how they could relate to my father's story. Most of all, the surprise on my part was the amount of letters from the children of survivors of the Holocaust, because it was same story, different war. And that book alone really pushed me out to have to speak about it. Basically, my publisher said, "Off you go, Pauline." And I was still are you guys going to train me? Am I going to get any
Nope.
media training?
Let's go.
Are you actually going to edit this book? Because I don't sound too academic in this book. That, nope, we need your voice. Please, can you make me sound academic and intelligent? Nope, we need your voice. Okay, you're going to push me out into these, multiple international writers festivals. Are you going to give me any media training? Nope. And so again, that was my training, right? I had a lot of trauma to still heal from, and I showed up as not as professional as I would have liked. There's always a sense of authenticity. There has to be. There has to be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't touch people. But there also needs to be some sort of composure, right? You can't be the blithering mess on stage. I was the blithering mess on stage. And so that really pushed me to do more and more of the work, to really dive deep, layer by layer by layer of healing. And so what does it mean to heal? To heal means that you're no longer that, right? It's not the same as curing, to go to the doctors and get some medicine. To heal is to really walk down the long hall of mirrors. And so to heal is the opposite of. I can tell those stories now and not be the blithering mess anymore. It still comes from a very, very true space, but I'm not that. I'm not in that sort of pain anymore. Healing means to be the opposite of. And so a lot of the work also is, oh, okay, I'm triggered. And to have a look at that trigger and say, thank you, my trigger. You've just shown me another long hall of mirrors that I need to walk down. But am I willing to do that so that I can be the next best version of myself on the other side? All right, bring it on. Okay.
Yeah.
And another layer of healing comes, right? It's never ending.
Oh my gosh, you're such a soul sister. Like I totally could just relate to so much of what you're saying. A friend had invited me to speak at a trauma conference in front of 350 therapists and those working in the mental health field. And so there I stuck a microphone in my hand. I'd never, spoken before. And I was just like, well, here we go. And I said, well, how long do I have to speak? And she said, 45 minutes. And I was like,
Long time. How did you go?
but it was awesome and I loved it. And, they got a standing ovation, but I just spoke from the heart and the feedback that I got was so
Yeah.
beautiful. And so, yeah, I mean,
Congratulations.
the authenticity part of it is just, it's so critical and so important because that's what connects us soul to soul, heart to heart, right? Or light to light, is when somebody can, like, you put your truth out there and it resonates with someone else's soul.
Yes, and on that note, Terry, your podcast is testament to that. Congratulations on the
Oh,
success of your podcast.
thank you. Yeah, it's been a gift, to put it out there into the universe and watch it grow and blossom and reach so many people. And my goal has always been to just bring people like you on who are so beautiful and inspirational and just such a gift and a light in the world. And so I thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's what, 200 plus episodes now? Well done. So
Yes, I
good.
think it's 234. It's in 107 countries last I looked.
So good.
Yeah, and Australia, I want to say it's moved up to number two. It's the United States, and then I think Australia, and then I think Canada maybe underneath. But yeah, I think Australia recently bumped up to number two, which I love, and it's, yeah,
Yes.
awesome. So anything
Congratulations.
else that you wanted to touch upon that we haven't had a chance to discuss yet?
Oh, yeah, there's gazillion things.
I know.
There's a gazillion things. I am heading to the US in June, July, and then October again for speaking engagements. But I'm also in talks with some really beautiful, badass spiritual entrepreneurs and holding some retreats over there,
Oh my gosh,
which
that's wonderful. Can
a
anyone
social.
attend those? Can listeners attend, or is this like
Yeah,
people who?
yes, they can. There will be versions of my retreats in Australia called the Ziva Life Collective Retreats. All this information your audience can find on my website, and bringing Ziva to the United States in a different iteration to also complement the women who I will be collaborating with. Again, all with the intention to heal. It's no longer satisfactory, or I don't think helpful, to be consistently talking about post-traumatic stress or trauma anymore. We have to continue that conversation with post-traumatic healing.
Yes. Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
that's the main crux of it all. It's If we're going to talk about this, what is the end goal? The end goal is to heal. Another layer, another layer, another layer. And so it will be bringing of course, the semantic work so that we can all understand it cognitively, intellectually, and then also to do the somatic practices. And then I go into full on shamanic mode so that I can activate your healing on a DNA level.
Oh my gosh. Again, I'm just so thrilled. And again, I relate it back to me because it's what I do. My therapist said, Teri, we're just going to have to keep taking this layer by layer. We can't just chop that onion in half to get at the core. And I was like, okay, we'll get layer by layer. So yes.
Yeah. And also, it's more enjoyable when we do it layer by layer.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't
Not
have
so
to be.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
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 Wonderful. So how do people get in touch with you? How do they find you?
They can find me on multiple platforms, but I think the most direct way is to just contact me via my website,
Okay. And what is that?
www.paulinenguyen.com.au.
Okay. Well, I will make sure I'll put it in show notes, everybody, so you can just click on it and pop on over there. And yeah, there you go.
And
Well,
of
I
course, I'm
just, sorry.
LinkedIn and Instagram. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, but the best way to get in touch with me is through my website.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, it's just been just an absolute joy to have you here. You're brilliant and just a beautiful light. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Teri, the joy was mine. The joy was mine. Thank you so much for having me. Meta, meta,
Absolutely.
meta.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us on the Healing Place podcast. And until next time, remember, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye
Yeah.
bye. Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock again. Just wanted to thank you for listening to the episode today and remind you to visit my website as well as the academy.teriwellbrock.com for the courses. But if you go to my website, teriwellbrock.com, you can sign up for my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, which is also jam-packed with information and strategies and blog pieces and guest blog pieces and links to shows. And just a great space for, again, healing and hope strategies. Thanks for, again, being here and being a part of this healing space. I very much appreciate you. All right. Bye bye.